Well, welcome to the Oasis Academy podcast. We're real pleased to have with us today Justus Uwayesu, who is a global social impact investor and consultant, spending time in New York and London and other parts of the world. But he's with us today virtually here. So we welcome you, viewers and listeners, to our podcast today, and I know you'll enjoy our conversation together. As you may know, the Oasis Academy is, at time of this recording, building out a boarding school with campuses in Hawaii, Utah, the Bay Area, and Los Angeles. And we serve students ages 8 to 18 who are in transition and needing an extended family and some help to unleash their potential. And that's our purpose. Our founder, L.R. Fox, had similar experience and saw that there were better ways to care for orphans and children in foster care who have great potential and just need an environment where they can thrive. And somebody who can tell us about that today is Justus, who has an amazing story of perseverance and thriving. So, Justus, we really welcome you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much, John, and thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure to have met and connected with the Oasis Academy, and really looking forward to sharing my story, but really hopefully, enjoying a really great conversation. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Well, fantastic. Well, we are learning every day on how to be better at what we do, and I know we'll be learning from you today as well. So, as I mentioned a bit in the opening comments about where you are today, what you're doing, but the journey from where you were to where you are today is a long and interesting and inspiring story. And so, maybe you can give us a little bit of your background, way back to your early years and what the environment was like, where you were, what was going on at that time.
So just to start, maybe I'll introduce myself a little bit more now, to give it the background of where I am now. So right now I work in international development, which is currently known as impact investing. Basically, impact investing is a fancy word for capitalism with a good intention.
Yes.
The idea of putting money in good companies that are not only making money, but also generating return, but also making a positive impact to the community and the planet. So I'm based in London now. I've been based in London for the last 4 years. And really, this is really one of the work that aligns well with my mission. And as we talk, you understand why I chose this path and what I aspire to do in the future. But so I just wanted to give that as a background. So you asked about my early childhood. I would say many people know my story from an article produced a while ago in 2014. Was on the front page of the New York Times. And obviously, it's been 10 years since, and I've had time to reflect about my childhood, my upbringing.
Yes.
And the more I reflect about my early childhood, is the more I'm actually deeply grateful for the life I've had, the people I've met in my life, and the connections I've made over time, and the choices I have made, but also really, frankly speaking, things that have just happened to be in my life.
Yes.
So my childhood was nothing like ordinary, I would say. I was born in 1991. That's the year I think I was born. I don't know actually the exact date I was born.
That's right.
And that was for people who know the history of Rwanda. So that was 3 years before the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, which took place 1994 in around spring. And my parents died during that period. And at age of 3, I would say I really don't know how my parents looked like and what
Right.
how they were. And so I can talk a little bit about my what that period looked like, especially the period after that. So as an orphan growing up in that period, I've had several uh, lives, really, a lot of chapters, a lot of people in my life.
Yes.
Um, and I know Oasis Academy is really looking forward to like bringing creating a home for people like myself
That's right.
in that period. I've lived in orphanages, in 2 orphanages in my life. One was during that period of war in Rwanda. There was both a war going on, but there was also a genocide going
Right.
on. The war was to stop the genocide, and that was more political side of that story. But then and then the genocide was really about surviving people, surviving that atrocity. So
Yes.
during that period, I was picked up with the Red Cross and lived in the Red Cross for some time, and that's really how I would say I survived.
Hmm.
And as an orphan in the orphanage, I would say in the time of crisis or even the time of peace as well. Um, I would not have really. I don't know how I would have survived without having that
Yeah.
period, that place to of
How
safety.
many do you think were in the orphanage with you?
Thousands of kids. There was
Wow.
thousands of kids. So if you think
Wow.
about it, this was the genocide affected the whole nation,
Yes.
and
Thousands of
even
kids
the
lost their parents.
and a lot of kids lost their parents, and about 1 million people died over a
Mhm.
period of 100 days.
Yes.
So the scale of that atrocities were unprecedented, really. And what it really meant is so there were a lot of kids like myself who not only didn't have lost their parents, but really had no home, had no places to be. And the Red Cross themselves, they didn't even have enough space for
Yeah.
kids. So for
Yeah.
some of us who got lucky to be there, we felt lucky. So
Right. Right.
it was really great to at least be able to have that as a safe place to be.
Wow. Wow. Any comments on, what you remember about the key challenges of living that life? People who were good influences, bad influences, among 1,000 kids and maybe some adults. There were some challenges to manage, even as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and older.
Exactly. So during that period, it was a period of, I would say, fear.
Yes.
People were afraid. I mean, as I was afraid, I felt afraid every time in that period as a child, because you didn't know what tomorrow is going to look like.
Right.
Separated with your family. I was separated from my family. My mother, I did not know what had happened. Um, I had my sisters and brothers, but then I did not know where they were. Uh, Later on, I found them. The Red Cross found them and brought some of them in the orphanage. So it was great to reconnect with 3 of my siblings. Uh, it was um, it was a period of fear to start. So because the kids were in different conditions, many were sick, needed to be taken care of, and the Red Cross was doing the best they can at the orphanage. And then the some were um, disabled, obviously, is as you typically see on TV, wounded and really
Yes.
surviving, by like really their life being in danger.
Hmm.
Um, so that was seeing those kids, and obviously there was even um, um, uh, there was even a cemetery that was dedicated to the orphanage. When a kid died, for example, we would all gather, go to church, pray,
Wow.
lead the mass, and accompany the child. Or which typically the smaller ones were the ones who pass away first, more often. And so it's a period of fear, and
Yeah.
we got sick. I remember getting sick with this. There was an outbreak of it's called dysentery, so it's an extreme diarrhea.
Yes.
Many people who know the history of that region will remember that period. A lot of millions of people died because of that. So some of the orphans that were being picked up by through that crisis were brought um, into the Red Cross orphanage, and I was one of the people who actually caught that and spent months in
Wow.
in a hospital. And many people, many kids were with me in that in a hospital as well. Many were passed away from that. So I felt lucky to not only have been picked up by Red Cross during that period, but also to have to be alive
Yeah.
today. And we've
So
had so many
we'll,
instances of that
we'll
to be.
we'll talk about this a bit more, but I think the lessons in survival and perseverance, having a reason to stay alive when your circumstances say I'd rather check out. All those are critical decisions. Finding hope within us, with a higher power of the God, whatever it is that keeps us going. It's really dire circumstances. I'm guessing you maybe didn't have a sense of hope. There was no sense of what the future would be, that the future would be better, or how did you deal with that?
Yeah, there was no sense of hope in the sense that there was no perspective. You don't have the perspective of tomorrow. You don't have a sense of what the future is going to look like. Um, there was not I would say there was not enough food.
Yeah.
Again, this is thousands of kids. There are numbers out there, but I think I would say at least you did not have enough space, and the kids keep coming in. The Red Cross was managing both the providing safety for the children, for us, but also reconnecting parents and
Yeah.
finding really safe places for people to be. Um, and with that, I think you only are surviving in the moment. And I
You
think
mentioned that there was insufficient food for thousands of kids at times. So, tell us a little bit about supplementing that food, the garbage dump culture, the rules of that situation, and what was that like?
so. I'll get to that later, but I was just talking about the in the moment of like that crisis, and especially early as as I was still in that orphanage, there was less food in the sense that Red Cross being a large organization, it was overwhelmed. But second, there was also no medication pretty much in the whole country. So it was a lot of things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, and and then as the war ended and the current government stopped the genocide that was happening, and restored some sort of stability within the borders of Rwanda, then the Red Cross focused more on taking kids back to any surviving um, family member.
Okay.
Um, so the way I ended up staying on the street in the Red Cross is a few, maybe a year or two after I left the Red Cross.
Oh, okay.
And that was I would say the darkest period of my life. Really, it was really bad. And how it happened basically is in the time where I left the orphanage. I was put with a a family member, so the wife of my uncle. That was me and my two young sisters and my brother, one of my
Okay.
immediate older brother. And we stayed with them. So I think she was, at that time, didn't have anything to survive on herself in the village, like 45 miles away from the capital city or the Red Cross orphanage.
Okay.
So she was in a way motivated by some of the materials things that Red Cross would give kids, especially, beds and blankets and some food for a period. So she took us in, but she was the only ones we could see in the whole village. Um, and so for some reason, after a period, she left us. And
Hmm.
we stayed. It was me, my brothers, and my sisters. So we have to find ourselves having to take care of ourselves, pretty
What
much.
were the ages of all of you?
My older brother was around 15, going to 16 at the
Okay.
time, was the oldest. I was probably around the age of 7, around, going to 7, and two young sisters were like maybe 4 and 5
Wow.
at that stage. Um,
Wow.
and then, yeah, so we were a family of 5, the oldest being 16 old. So we could not farm, we could not, have enough power or even energy to go fetch water. So we survived somehow.
Yes.
The way we survived in the village, because there was a little, at least at that time, was about 3 years. That was around 1999, so around 4 years or so after the genocide. The There was still food on the farm, so people had left plants in the farm
Okay.
and we never harvested them. So we would go and pluck them, potatoes, mangoes, fruits from the tree.
Gleaning.
Hmm?
Gleaning, it's sometimes
Exactly.
called.
And I don't think we had an issue with finding food because Rwanda is a very fertile country. Our region is one of the most fertile region as well. So long as there was rain, there was food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did that for a period. Unfortunately, that same region my district was hit by drought
Wow.
around 2000. And that drought was the first time of having such a really big drought that wiped out everything. So
Okay.
now, as a family of 5, we could not farm, we could not, our source of food is gone. And my brother, myself, and we could not survive in that. So it was pretty much a big famine in the region.
Okay.
And through that famine, that's where we actually suffered a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could not go to the neighbors because the neighbors themselves did not have a lot.
Right.
Um, and my brother would, travel a distance for a day and, come back with some food. Started by going like maybe in the morning, coming in the afternoon, and then started going, being the late day. So instead of coming the same day, came the second day. And, between when he leaves and when he comes back, obviously there's no food for us, so we have to wait.
Yeah.
And we would start eating anything that could be eaten
Sure.
in a village. One of the striking thing I remember is having to cook. I don't know if you know papayas.
Yes.
So papayas are fruit. They supposed to be eaten when ripe and nice and yellow.
Right.
Um, but we would pluck them before they are ripe because you can't find a ripe one
Uh-huh.
and boil them in water and
Oh,
eat.
well,
It's not the best thing to eat, but we survived on that, and we
yes.
did a few other things as well.
Yeah.
Just put salt and eat. anything you can lay hands. So it was a famine, but even that, you know, finished basically. We
Yeah.
couldn't, we couldn't find that as well. So yeah, amidst that famine, I was when we realized the famine is going on, we're not going to survive there. With my friend decided, we're gonna go to the city. The intention was to go
Okay.
back to the Red Cross. I did not know how to get there, but at least I knew the road. It was gonna be one road, hopefully get there. So we left early morning, and I told my friend, we, we if we go to Kigali and to the Red Cross, we will find at least food. We might even, they might even accept us to, go back in the Red Cross orphanage. So we early morning around 5 a.m. we were on the street going. We didn't
It's a
tell
long
anyone.
walk.
Walking. So we walked from the village all the way to Kigali. So that was a day's journey. We left 5 a.m. We started approaching the city. The city is where it's right on the hill. People who know Rwanda is a very mountainous. It's a hill. In fact, we call it a country of 1,000 hills. Um,
Oh, yes.
so as you approach Kigali, is the only place that the capital city at the time, it was the only place that has electricity. So we arrived there in the evening, and on the hill, we look in the valley, there's a lot of lights. And behind us was being obviously dark villages that don't have electricity at the time. So it was a little bit confused, and we could not know which road to take to get
Hmm.
to the Red Cross at that point. So we stayed with the neighbors with people who live there. We asked different people. Some people rejected us, so we can't have you. You look like street boy. You're dirty.
Yeah.
Couldn't trust us. But one family, very young couple, took us in for the night. They gave us
Uh-huh.
food. I remember exactly what we ate. It was a cornmeal, yellow cornmeal, and they gave us shelter them morning. Out of their kindness, though, they didn't really want to be that kind as well. They had an additional under plan of maybe giving us jobs in their families, and that's really what happened. So
Hmm.
they ended up sending me to their grandfather, who had a lot of cows, needed someone to herd their cows. I
Wow.
did that and they kept my friend who actually had a little bit more energy, looked stronger, to work for them at the house help.
Wow.
See, and end up working for that guy, the old man with cows, in a slightly deep village as well. Unfortunately, he was supposed to pay me, but he didn't pay me.
Oh my goodness.
He was supposed to pay me something about $1 a month. Uh, but at the end of the month, after working for him for 9 months, not paying me, I
Wow.
ran away. Basically, I say, I'm gone. I
Wow.
had heard of another orphanage run by a Christian organization, where some kids were being taken off the street into that orphanage. So I left and said, I'm going to go there and maybe they will take me. So when I got there, they were full. This is 2000. So
Yeah.
the crisis in Rwanda was when everything else is a lot of kids without parents, without homes, families with nothing to eat, nothing, the economy really
Yeah.
fully destroyed, trying to rebuild the country. It was nothing like what Rwanda is today.
Yeah.
Rwanda, most people know the story is gotten better with good leadership and some sort of
Yes.
vibrancy.
So what is it
But
you think kept you going? How did you and your siblings persevere?
I would say what kept me going, um, I think early on you learn to survive. You realize there's no one else to help you. you rely on yourself to survive. And that's something you learn as an orphan quickly. And that's both a very difficult time period, especially when you are facing challenges. You can't look up to anyone in the whole world.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people, you feel alone. You feel alone. So I felt alone most of the time, a lot of the times. And no one is responsible for you. No one, you couldn't ask help from anyone. So I was like, I'm going to go find a home there. If they hopefully they would take me. So unfortunately, when they couldn't take me, I could not go to the back to my job because the guy doesn't pay me, but at least he
Right.
provides shelter and I look after
Right.
his house. But I had not told him that I was leaving and I had not taken his cows to graze, so it's definitely not going to be very happy. Happened to be a very not a very uh, kind man. He was a very angry man himself.
Yeah.
So I was no way I was going to show up in his face. So and then to cut the story short, around there in the same district, there was a big national dump where all the trash from the city they were taken. And so I learned quickly that there were other kids who stay there. And so and then I end up staying there. So that's how I ended up staying in the garbage dump. And that I would say it went from bad to worse to unimaginable
Yeah.
period.
So, one day you had a visitor at the dump that changed the course of your history, that you're sitting in a New York City apartment today. Um, so tell us about the transition.
It was an I would say, and this is where the really the story of opportunity starts to come through, really being given a chance and as an orphan. So I lived in the dump for about a year and a half, staying there, living there on the day. So basically you eat whatever comes in. You
Yes.
scavenge, you find whatever food you can find, potatoes, whatever piece of bread, dry or not dry. So that's pretty much you learn. We had mapped the entire city's sources of food, which bakeries have the best, which time they deliver their trash, which trash not to touch because they come from a hospital. So it was bad, but at least I was not very hungry. The one thing I can tell you
Wow.
that's bad in the life of a child when I look back is being hungry. And you and I think early on as an orphan, it's the time you go back to be. When I look back, it was really not good to be hungry because you look around, there's no one to give you food.
Yeah.
Um, from a nourishment perspective, we were eating trash,
Right.
but it was better than the famine behind me. Uh,
Yes.
it was definitely better in some respect from the guys who were herding the guy's cow, but still we were living with pigs around that lived there.
Right.
We had to eat. It was very dangerous.
Right.
It was a furnace as well. There was a furnace there. There was multiple moments of where you could die. You could be pushed in that trash. In fact, it did happen once, and there was being pushed in behind. Had fallen asleep behind a pile of trash in the afternoon, there was a disc caterpillar was pushing when a pile up. They pushed the trash up down and the valley. It's on a hill.
Sure.
It was on a
Sure.
hill
Sure.
into the burning furnace down the hill. Um,
Wow.
and and I was being pushed, and there was a nice and dreaming, but not knowing that I'm being pushed into the burning, area. And then
Wow.
one of the kids, the big kids, grabbed me and threw me like a very big mile away.
Well,
So I survived there. So to your question of that one day, um, uh, there was a visitor indeed. I would say more like an angel in that respect. So there was, her name is Claire. She's done an amazing work. Her name is Claire. She's also from New York, a Christian. So she was, from her perspective, she was sent, God told her, go help people. She quit her
yeah,
job, full-time
yeah.
job, and went to Rwanda to as a helping kids. So she came there on a Sunday evening, and we were not many because Sunday was, a dry Sunday. Usually, typically, no trash comes in as much. So more or less kids, uh, go other places.
Yeah.
So I went. I stayed. I mean, I had not had stayed outside, but then went back in around the afternoon, around 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. And yeah, she showed up and
Mm.
asked many of us, what can I do for you? And I told her I wanted to go to school. I was the only one who said I wanted to go to school at that time. I can go into why I think I've reflected on that particular moment for so many times, but I thought it was the only thing that would make me like other kids that I was seeing on the street who had,
Right. Right.
where being on the street, who that's really the only difference I saw between
Wow.
me and the others, which separated me, was seeing the kids that go to school every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And I saw myself different.
I think it's interesting that all of us as young people who grow up eventually, um, you know, um, we're always looking around and seeing what other people are doing and what other kids were doing in your case, and what's the how can I have a life like they have? And so I think we all need an angel in our life of some sort. And Claire came along in your case as that angel and helped with that transition. Um, and I know we could talk a long, long time, and we don't have all of that today. But obviously, she helped you get on a path to education, and you engaged, you committed to it, you were a factor in your success. You had to apply yourself and all that. But I'm curious with what time we have left, what are your key reflections or key learnings for other kids that may be orphans today in an orphanage somewhere, or foster care in the States, or in some situation, what's the how and why of making your life work and productive, and now you're even giving back.
Yeah, yeah. So that's very good question, John. So I would tell you the um when Claire showed up and started talking to some of us, we had seen multiple people like her, at least for who come. She was this, nice looking African American from with a car, with a driver, with a camera, with interpreters. So there were maybe a group of 4 people, and unfortunately, there had been multiple people like her who came and did nothing. I would say I didn't actually take her serious. I didn't even go I was not among the first kids that were there. I was just around there looking at, seeing people from a distance, around a small sedan car, uh, and I did not approach immediately until I
Uh-huh.
started seeing that they just have bread in their hands, and I started going there. Um, so it was not surprising to see someone with curiosity and maybe intention to help, but not help in the end. So we
Sure.
were not expecting a lot. So, but when she offered that, and I said that without expecting as well that she would do something, uh, it's genuinely what I felt like. Um, uh, if I go in school, I will be able to study. I will be able to take care of my sisters. At that time, had separated with them. They were living with the other people. Um,
Okay.
as well, going to school, I was like, if I do go to school, I'll be like those other kids. I will have the opportunity to.
Right.
I did not even know what the school would bring, but I knew I wanted to be like those other kids. They seemed happy. They seemed uh, safe. They were literally always playful, playing football on the street as they, laughing as they ran to school.
Yes.
Um, and I realized I had never been really that happy.
Yes.
And so I was like, yeah, I want to be like those kids. I want to be in school. So she took me in. If she asked me the question, actually, a follow-up questions like, if I tell you I will put you in school, would you come with me? And I said yes. And yeah, so that's how she actually literally took me. Said, go
I
and get
just
in
want
the
to
car.
affirm that yes decision, knowing that in the students we work with, trust is a real issue. There hasn't been a history or pattern of trust. So for you to trust her and say, yes, I will go with you was a huge decision,
It was a big decision. I wouldn't say I trusted her.
right?
I would not say that for sure. In fact, I think I did not want to back. I could not back out of my yes. If I probably had a way of backing out of it, I maybe would have.
Hmm.
One, these people did not speak the language we speak, except the translator and the taxi driver. And we thought at the time that foreigners, there was this rumor that, some foreigners eat people,
Oh,
like
wow.
kids type of rumor. So it's like, uh, you know, and actually when I sat in the car and the car was about to take off, one of the kids shouted, so go and they'll eat you. I was
Wow.
actually saying it as a joke, but it really didn't land as a joke. I was like, I was stuck between two people in the middle seat, so I could not back out.
Oh, wow.
But
Well, still lots of uncertainty and fear, I'm
I
sure.
was definitely not fearful because they had given me bread and butter. I was,
Okay.
they seemed like nice, but I was not excited to go with whatever they were going, to go with them where they were taking me. But then they, took me to a nice home in the city, and life changed from there. And when I look back from that moment of being presented with really a simple opportunity for many people,
Mhm.
especially kids in different places of the world, here in the US, school is a given. Some opportunities are always there. I was like, this is night and day. So when I look back to the time in the garbage, to really that time I entered into the taxi and drove about 30 minutes to the nice home, which didn't
Wow.
belong to Claire herself. She was just a church member she happened to know.
Yes.
It was a huge transformation. So one is saying yes to that opportunity without
And how
knowing.
old were you at the time of the transformation?
I was around 8 at that time,
Wow. Okay.
going to 9,
Yeah.
um, and uh, and I did not know what to expect. It's really trusting yourself and the no knowing really what could come.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and not knowing what will happen, but really realizing that the situation you are in is not good, and
Yes.
there's something better out there.
Well, obviously the rest is history in a sense of what got you to today. And if people want to get your articles or get in touch with you, they can get in touch with me, John, at the oasisacademy.org. to bring you up to date. But in the few minutes we have left, what can you tell us about, key lessons for anyone facing adversity, young person or adult? And what kind of dream or hope might you have for those who would become students at the Oasis Academy?
Yeah, I would say the advice is I have a couple of lessons. One, I really think it was a privilege to have, at this point, looking back, if you can't go through that adversity, if you can really hold on to that, whatever is keeping you going, and hold on to it,
It makes you better.
it makes you better. It's a huge advantage in your life later on because you realize no one has lived that experience as a child.
Mhm.
The fact that you're forced to be resilient, forced to survive early on, it's not good. No one will wish one. You can't wish that to anyone.
Right.
Uh, but it's also a huge um, blessing in disguise later on if you can go through that. Because if you, I realize that because I've dealt with so many challenges early on, how worse can it get? When I started looking at situations in my current life and the corporate world, and I was like, it's bad, but you keep going. There's the range of possibilities is infinite, and there's always
Yes.
something good because you've always aspired, to something good, better. So I think that is one lesson. Our past as people who have struggled or had to endure is something something precious if we can go through it and survive. Second, I think the opportunity Oasis Academy wants to provide to orphans and kids who are in disadvantaged situations. It's transformational. It's when you provide that opportunity to someone who doesn't have it. One, they might not use it, and in fact, it's not the case that many people don't. For so many reasons that has nothing to do with them themselves, they may not be able to use that opportunity well. But
Yeah.
even that nothing takes away from the fact that opportunity to be in a safe place, safe environment, provide mentors, provide friends, a family, a new family structure, that is priceless in itself. So I would say that is great. And second, for young people who are out there, with different, who given something, one thing or the other by their parents, by friends or cousins or uncles, you want to seize that opportunity and use it to do as something that could actually transform your life. Most importantly, education has unlocked so many opportunities. We didn't mention, but I think when I went to school, I grabbed onto school. Like every day of the school was great. I,
Yes.
I was happy. I was seeing kids who were happy. I felt happy.
Wow.
Um, but then I also worked hard enough. I was very hard working, and so education is going to get me there. And the more I went through school, the more I actually realized what education can do.
Hmm.
And there I go from being an orphan in the Red Cross to being in the a street, going through the famine, the garbage time, and
Yeah.
and going to Harvard as one of the most prestigious places on universities in the world, and so many other things. I went to from Harvard, and from Harvard I went to Schwarzman. I was given a Schwarzman scholarship to study in China for my master's,
Yes.
and life transformed. And all of this I can trace it to that moment where I actually, I realized if I did ask for something that can transform my life, if I use it well, it's the only thing I have. So that's
Yeah.
the lesson for young people out there, but also for adults who, interact with kids in the disadvantaged orphans and kids in the foster care homes in the US, everywhere. It's realized the potential that we have as people who have no parents, orphans, and people who have come from dysfunctional families. It's not any different. Our potential is not any different from any other child, really.
Right.
It's just that we happen to have less of a lot of what other people
Yes.
have. And if we can have that, and if Oasis and other organizations like Oasis can provide that to children, it really you unlock the possibility for them, and what they can do for others as well.
Well, Justice, it's been inspiring to be with you today. I'm sure we could talk for hours more, and we're going to keep track of you and have you back as your life progresses and you keep impacting the world in so many ways. Yeah, again, if viewers, listeners want to get in touch with Justice, please email me, John, at theoasisacademy.org. I'm John Savage, your host for the Oasis Academy podcast, and we look forward to having you all back again. Justice, again, thank you so much for your gift of today.
Thank you for having me, and have a wonderful day. And it was a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much.